HappiDaze here, and today we're going into day 2 of Grand Party. So we're going to go ahead and stick with pretty much the same teams that we used yesterday, see how it goes, see how everything progresses, and hopefully we can get to 6 wins if all goes well. We are sticking with the Int G5 leader. He seemed like he did pretty good, and yeah, so we're going to keep up with him and just see how things go. So for first match, I kind of would thinking of doing that first match to see how the new Zoro is. I know he does get some boosts this season, but let's go ahead and just take on maybe that third match at the bottom there, just see what happens. Like I said, we have a bunch of retries. It's not a big deal. If it was the later days, I'd probably just pick the Zoro or the Luffy Yamato there, just because it's more guaranteed wins. But hey, we'll see what happens here. And the Shank special wasn't really too crazy from what we saw yesterday, so we'll just go with what we have here. So the goal is to be able to, hopefully on the first match, not have to use any of the bursts, save them for the second and third match. Ideally, if we could have 2 for 1 match, pretty much hopefully guarantee a win. Depending on the teams that we're using, so that's kind of what we're going to go ahead and do, and what the game plan is there. So we do face the Dex team first, so while they are very tanky, they don't really have too much in the way of damage, so that kind of helps out a little bit there. So should be a pretty straightforward match to get through. I'm not thinking that there'll be too many difficulties here. Shank's going to give us a shield, which is going to be awesome. And then we really just wait for the Whitebeard and the S-Hawk to go, and just kind of wait for them to just clear and just wipe out most of their units. So you can see S-Hawk took off almost most of them by himself. It's better if the Roger Whitebeard can go first, because then you get the 30% HP cut to everyone, but sometimes order is what it is. Not a big deal. We're going to have Zoro Sanji kind of burst everyone to the front, and then we're going to have Odin just give a nice fixed damage, which will just help us out there. So it would be nice if we just take a little bit more damage, just so we can kind of get our burst gauge charged a little bit more. Luckily with the Sanji that's there, the Soba Mask, he does a good amount of hit, or a good amount of damage there, so we should help charge up a little bit as the time gets closer to the end. We're still at 52 seconds, so it's not really doing a whole crazy amount of damage yet, but it is what it is. Yeah, and S-Hawk just comes in, and again just decimates everybody. So their Shank special is ready to go. We will take that all day. And basically that gives us a free burst going into the second match there. And if it's, I assume it's a slasher team, because I think the Shanks was on that second team there. So what we're going to do is just kind of swap this up a little bit and see if we can't have... Okay, maybe have our int team go first. Have our int team go first there, and then we'll save our Psy for last in case we need it. That's kind of what we'll do. We have Bonnie on that team as well, so it might be a better match to actually swap these. But you know what? I'm just going to play out, and we'll see how it works. If it doesn't, we can always do retry. There's no harm in this day. But if it was more towards the later days, I might have swapped the second and third team just to give some help, because the Bond unit here will help take out some of those side units and things like that. But like I said, we have burst, so I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, S-Hawk is kind of the biggest threat on this team just because of what he can do. But worst case, we should get another burst charged once all their specials start going. So I'm going to wait till they get closer to being ready to go, and then I'm going to kick off my specials. Let's go ahead and just use it here. Gives them all a shield, which is kind of unfortunate. This is gonna hurt. But the good news is, like I said, it charges pretty much all our specials there. So I'm just going to head and use the second special burst here. we'll just hopefully take out the rest of everyone who's here, which should just make things a little bit easier. And then Luffy special's ready to go, so hopefully I can take out some of these guys here. Uta also hits pretty hard. Let's see if they're going to be able to go. Yeah, and that's the great news. So yeah, a win there. So in case people didn't realize what happened, there were 2 units that were forced out, but because we end up killing everyone that was on the bench before those units forced out timer ended up expiring, we ended up getting the win. So awesome. That's why it's kind of crazy if you're fighting free spirit units. He just knocks them out, and you can easily, if you're facing like a full team of free spirits, it just makes it ridiculously easy to do it. So let's go into this second match here. I'm going to end up probably facing probably this third team. If I was doing just normal matches, I'd probably face that first one because they don't have a burst. Actually, yeah, let's do the first match. I'm debating. Let's do this match. We have retries, so if we lose, that's fine. We're going to do a ton of damage. And I think what the game plan here will be is try to bait out both of those GP bursts from his int G5 leader on that second fight, and that will leave us with 2 GP bursts for the third fight, which should be more than enough to get us through anything that might happen there. This is kind of your slasher versus slasher mirrored build here, so this will be interesting to see whose slasher ends up going first. If theirs does go first, then at least we get our burst charge. We could use that to kind of hopefully, secure that first win. It leaves us 1 less for either the second or third match, but it's not the end of the world. Like I said, the danger is that if we do a bunch of damage, then that will end up giving their int G5 Luffy the charge he needs to get his stuff going. So we'll see what happens. Luckily, I think Zoro Sanji is going to go here, which will kind of move everyone to the front, which will just make it a lot easier to win there. So S-Hawk is going to go first. He just wipes them out without any problems at all. And sorry, actually, they had the other. I think they actually had the side G5. I thought it was the int G5 when I looked quickly, but actually, it looks like it's the side because his special gauge isn't charging. So yeah, this should be quite a easy win here. I'm not going to use the burst just because we don't need it there. But just one thing to note is that obviously they charge their burst by doing damage with the side G5 Luffy. So like I said, we're not too worried there. They are kind of close to using their burst, but I'm guessing they'll probably save that and use it for the second match. So that's good. Just charges our gauge, so we'll be good there. We'll see if they elect to use their burst or if the CPU saved it. So that's fine. Like I said, it gives us 2 bursts. Unfortunately, we're going to take a burst right off Riff, which is kind of a pain. So that's why we're going to stick with keeping that side team on the second fight. Fully expect them to pretty much just melt once they take that burst, but that will put us in a really good spot for the third fight. So let's go ahead and get right into it, see what happens. So I am still sticking with this Psy Free Spirit team as opposed to going with just the kind of the multicolored Free Spirit team that a lot of people run. Might change this in later days, but we like to see just kind of how this runs. So we're expecting to take a burst pretty much right off Rift. Oh, so actually it's not ready yet. I thought it was charged, but they are literally right on the precipice of having that burst charged and ready to go. Now, we don't have really many units on the bench, so even if they are able to wipe out our whole front line with the burst, like, it's not a concern because we don't have much units in the back, so hopefully it shouldn't give them a big opportunity. Oh, wow. Actually, I thought they would really wipe out that whole front line without even getting off one attack. Looks like that wasn't the case, which is obviously good. So now I'm debating whether I actually want to go ahead and use... yeah, why not? We'll see what happens. go ahead and use one of these specials. Luffy will be going shortly anyway, so hopefully that will just, that will help us out. They won't be able to charge their burst in time. They still have maybe 10% of their burst gauge charge, so it should be just a nice, quick, easy win, and then we don't have to go into match number 3 at all. Alright, yep, that should pretty much seal it up, and he gets the win for us, so go ahead and secure win number 2 of the day. Just a mention, obviously when you're done for the day, make sure you swap out your captain. If you can set it to a rare recruit, that's super helpful. It'll just help people make sure they can get to 6 wins, or 15 when you get to the later days. So I'm going to go ahead and face this third team. It looks like the first team is probably a Psy team, Psy Free Spirit. Middle team is Slasher, and then last is probably Strength. Yep. Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and take this on. Should be pretty quick, pretty painless to get through here. Otama doesn't have a special, so it just kind of helps people out. This is exactly what I'm talking about when we say leverage strategy, just help everyone, get the wins, get to 15. Once you get to, I think it's 9 if I remember correctly, I think that's when you start losing the ability to see the team in the 3rd slot, so just make sure that when that happens, you are setting your rare recruit on that slot in the 3rd team, so people just know what team is there, just help everyone get 15 wins. So the only thing annoying here is the Nami Karina special rewind. But it is what it is. Yamato with a pretty good shot there, but luckily for us, well, actually we're going to take a pretty nasty shot here from Luffy as well. But we can go ahead and do a shot of our own. And you can see that special forced out, probably at least 2 of them, yeah. So as long as we can kill these 3 right here with the 3 units we have, which is not a problem at all, we should be able to pretty easily get this win. And that's why this into Luffy is just so crazy in what he can do with his GP burst. Makes it just so easy to just melt through teams and just get through content like it's nothing. Alright, so just like that, we won match number 1 of the 3rd round there. Like I said, we'll sacrifice this middle team. We're facing the Slasher team here, so there's no expectation that we'll be able to win with this team against the Slasher team. That Slasher team's just too crazy. So this is really just a sacrificial match, just to be able to basically just charge our burst gauge here. So I'm just going to go ahead and just skip it, because like I said, it's sacrificial. And they're going to wipe us out pretty quickly here. So let's go ahead and skip the match. Yep. So as I mentioned, there was no hope of that Psy team being able to take on that. I think only the Free Spirit team is really able to take on the Slasher team there and actually come out on top. And that's mostly because they have the Nami and Karina do the rewind and a couple other units that can help out there. But otherwise, not very many teams will beat that Slasher team. So we knew that. We went in. They did their job, which was just charging our burst gauge. So we're basically good to go. So I'll just wait for just a little bit, just until our guys are ready to go. And then I'll kick off my my GP burst here. Now, because obviously the CT reduction for strength is pretty crazy, they won't be able to get a lot of their moves off, particularly on the G5. Luffy's the scariest one on this team, because his hitting through defense is just absolutely ridiculous. And this just kind of helps completely avoid us having to deal with that. So you do have some units here that can hit through defense, so obviously that's always an issue with Kuma and those guys, but like I said, I think that we'll be in a good position here to hopefully be able to have Atlas go and just do a bunch of damage and hopefully kill the rest of these guys without any problems. So you can see Atlas just hitting like 1.5 to 2k hits, and she does like 8 of them. It's pretty ridiculous what she can do. And we'll just wait for Lucy to go, and then the match will be over. So there we go. That will wrap up the matches for us today. We go up to 6 out of 6, which is the ideal. Reminder, when you're done doing your matches for the day, just go in and set your friend captain to one who is not a crazy burst captain. Just help everyone out to be able to get to those 15 wins. So I'm just going to go ahead and set the law over here so people know what's going on. And yeah, so hopefully the strategies that we see today is really, if you're fighting a Shank's captain, you don't have to worry too much with an int G5 burst or GP leader. If you're facing the PSY G5, you're actually probably in a better position because they get their special charge for doing damage. You get yours by receiving damage. So if you have a team like Slasher who goes right away, you can kind of get you that first win secured. You can just take damage in the second fight, and then you'll have 2 bursts basically ready for the third fight, and it'll be really hard for any team to survive 2 int G5 GP leader burst there. So that's kind of the strategy probably going forward. We'll see. Like I said, I might change that Free Spirit team probably tomorrow as we get more competitive and you start seeing less and less teams, just to kind of help ensure the victory. But that's going to wrap it up for me today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, be kind to each other.